the 25th gate of innocence, the shaman priestess, the consecration and the blood. Third line business, we know it is our talent to be able to fail or not. Third line failure, trial and error is the name of the game, always. But here with the third line and its innocent spirit of the self, perfection of action through uncontrived and spontaneous nature. The third line is about being sensible. It's sensibility. The recognition that innocent action does not in itself guarantee success. Mars exalts the power of the ego to withstand failure and still maintain its nature. The power of the spirit to withstand failure and shock. This is why third lines can pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and try again. Now, on the flip side, Pluto detriments. This is the potential loss of innocence through misfortune that in the extreme can manifest from crime to suicide. The potential loss of spirit through failure and shock. Innocent action just doesn't guarantee success. This is the line of the third line. Fail or not. Have the courage to fail. With the best intentions, best laid plans, you can still fail. That is the truth for the third line. We are here to learn about the material plane business and adapt and try again, or we might have that failure, which leads to the pessimism. So it's all right for you to fail if you're a third line person. Failure is built into our genetic inherent potential so that we eventually get our rewards. We have to physically or mentally move through all of the things that do not work. And some people are not able to accept whatever failure. Their minds get so contaminated by the, let's say, shadow of an undefined ego where they think that there's something wrong with them. Rather than seeing the world as flawed, they see themselves as flawed. And that is a not self tendency. There is nothing wrong with a 3. The 3 is about its ability to fail. That is transcendent. That's transcendent. It's magical, mystical, wondrous to be able to fail and to be able to prevail, because you're going to get back up again, potentially, if you've got the perseverance, if you've got the gumption, whatever it happens to be as far as your process too. Ultimately, any failure for a 3, when you're operating correctly, it has no effect on your spirit, none at all. And this, in this spiritual place, in this deeply rooted place into the physical material plane, that practice that all religions have in place for forgiveness, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do, you know? It's rooted in this third line process, because oops, if I'd have known it was going to happen, obviously, I wouldn't have said that, done that, did that, whatever the case may be. So there's always room for recognizing in the power of what it is to be you, helplessness or choicelessness, that there's always room for, yeah, let's get up. We can try again. It's okay. You're allowed to fail. In business, no problem. People get that, right? Business, there's failures. You got to accept that. If you're somebody who's going to hire a 3 like me, you got to know they're going to make mistakes. But the path to greatness is littered with failures, as in there's always going to be some challenges. And can we learn from experience? What did we learn from the experience? Can we teach from the mistake or the flaw or the thing that didn't work, that is no longer valuable, no longer capable of giving us the nourishment or protection of bringing forth what is new? Because newness, or the advantages of keeping into the flow of the mutation, is the thing that the third line is here for. It is here to evolve. It is here to connect. And oops, sometimes we connect with those things that do not work. And so to be able to fail or not, we're looking at, again, the qualities of spirit. Does it have to damage the spirit? No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to damage the spirit when one fails, when one is correct. To be uncontrived, what we think of as the true innocent, as in there's no act, there's no play, they're alive in their intensity. And the third line is the wisdom of the material way, the wisdom of the road. This is all very, very personal. It's the second line, to be here now. This is the typical lower trigram process that is all very personal. And when the innocence is on display, that is not about anything being a negative. It is their own personal process. It's not about displaying one's selflessness in a contrived manner. It's not. It's about the purity of the vulnerability of being you. And in that truth, we rise to the occasion, because it is through the vulnerability of being you that you find your strength too, the beauty of personal innocence. In fact, when we have relationships with others that lose their innocence, that's what the 25th gate is all about, the loss of innocence or not. What happens is there is this coldness. So what happens, according to Ra, quote, you can take away my innocence. You can force me to be contrived. You can pull me out of the now. You can make me fail. You can pull me away from my innocence. And yet, if it is correct, then one survives the uncontrived, or not being in the now, or one survives the failure, the mistakes. It is the nature of the way this works. So if we were to talk about fear here, 25s might be said to be afraid to lose their innocence. It's innocence, spirit of the self. If we were to talk about 51 as a fear, it would be afraid of being a slave to the others, because remember what it's doing is it's leaping out of that slavishness business of always working for others. What about me, says the 51. What about me? I do it for me. I do it for I. So the 25th gate, fearing losing its innocence, and the 51st gate, being afraid to be a slave to others, as in, I don't want to be a slave. I want to be innocent. I want to be pure. I want to be it, the higher self, the higher realm. I want to live the full potential of my magic. Remember, this is magic, as in the magical mystery of awakening to what it is to be you. I want to know, I want to see, I want to be, I want to feel for myself. I want to speak for myself. I am myself. Now, that's what it's moving towards. Not for gain or power or lust or need. There are rules to innocence. It's the uncontrived, spontaneous nature of the self. So when we get to the upper trigram, again, we shift here. Fourth line, to be able to survive or not. Fifth line, to be able to celebrate or not. Sixth line, to be inappropriate or not. Ra's anthropomorphizing technique is looking at a gate, which is an inanimate object anyway. We are talking about concepts after all. We're looking at it as an item, that is also too personified in our view, so that we can apply this to our clients.